Every contemporary enterprise is an act of supreme confidence. We map supply chains, construct agile organizational workflows, automate processes, and monitor key metrics with an unshakable faith that the world is a riddle waiting to be solved by data. This confidence is a cultural inheritance of the Enlightenment. It is the belief that reality is inherently structured, linear, and completely transparent to human reason. But in 1813, a 25-year-old German philosopher named Arthur Schopenhauer published a doctoral thesis that quietly laid an explosive charge beneath this entire worldview. Its title, On the Fourfold Root of the Principle of Sufficient Reason. Schopenhauer took Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz's foundational rule of logic, the principle of sufficient reason, which dictates that nothing is without a ground or reason for why it is, and completely remapped it. He argued that this principle is not an objective feature of the cosmos. Rather, it is merely the hardwired processing software of the human intellect. He split our cognitive architecture into 4 distinct branches, or roots. First, the root of becoming, the law of physical causality that governs the material world. Second, the root of knowing, the logical connection between concepts and judgments that govern our reasoning. Third, the root of being, the mathematical and spatial temporal relationships that allow us to perceive space and time. Finally, the root of willing, the law of motivation that governs human actions. To Schopenhauer, everything we see, analyze, or optimize inside our modern corporation exists strictly within these 4 roots. He called this the world of representation. It is a phenomenal illusion. Following his philosophical master, Immanuel Kant, Schopenhauer reminded us that our intellects do not perceive reality as it is in itself. We only perceive our brain's internal translation of it. The corporate org chart, the dashboard metrics, the optimized calendar, these are not reality. They are merely the decorative patterns we paint on inside of our cognitive cage. And here we find the genesis of modern organizational misery. We live in a culture that mistakes the representation for the reality. We genuinely believe that if we can fit human behavior into a cell on a spreadsheet, we have managed it. You may also note here that Schopenhauer's argument has some commonalities with Baudrillard's concept of the simulacrum. When a company experiences a crisis of culture, its structural reflex is to build another framework, add another layer of reporting compliance, or draft a new policy document. We try to solve the limits of representation by multiplying the representation. The result is the administrative bureaucracy that defines the modern workplace, a labyrinth of empty forms, mandatory check-ins, and performance matrices that feel profoundly hollow to the people navigating them. We are forcing organic human life to live inside a purely mathematical simulation, and then wondering why the people inside feel like ghosts. Kant had left Western philosophy stranded behind an unclimbed wall, asserting that the noumenon, the thing in itself, the true reality behind appearances, was completely unknowable. But in his 1818 magnum opus, The World as Will and Representation, Schopenhauer announced that he had discovered a brilliant metaphysical backdoor. He asked a deceptively simple question: how do you experience your own physical body? If you observe your hand from the outside, it is a representation, an object occupying space, moving through time, obeying physical causality. But you do not merely observe your body, you inhabit it. When you decide to move your arm, you do not observe a mental concept causing a physical reaction. The inner experience of willing the movement and the physical action of the body are not 2 distinct things linked by causality. Schopenhauer argued that these are the exact same physical event experienced through 2 entirely different channels. The body is the outward spatial temporal objectification of an inner reality, and the inner reality is the will. The representation is the world as it appears to our senses, governed by time, space, and causality. It is fragmented, orderly, and deceptive. The will is the world as it is in itself, a singular, timeless, undifferentiated force. It has no consciousness, no morality, and no final objective. Through this single window of self-experience, Schopenhauer made a staggering metaphysical leap. If my physical body is just the outward manifestation of an inner primal drive, then the entire universe must operate on the same exact engine. The magnetic pull of the planets, the violent fusion of stars, the chemical attraction of elements, these are not separate rational systems. They are all localized eruptions of one single, unified, blind, non-rational, cosmic energy. The will has no mind. It has no plan. It has no destination. It is simply a titanic, ceaseless urge to exist, to strain, and to propagate. And this is where the modernist project commits its fatal error. Modernism was not just an artistic movement. It was a civilization-wide engineering project. It took the Enlightenment belief in human reason and tried to physically construct a utopian world. It promised to eliminate human misery by designing everything, from factories to corporate hierarchies, on principles of absolute logic, geometry, and efficiency. Modernists believed that building a rational grid would make human beings act rationally. Schopenhauer utterly shattered this hierarchy. He famously demoted the human intellect, asserting that the will is a blind, muscular giant carrying the lame intellect on its shoulders. The intellect does not choose what we desire. The will dictates a blind mammalian craving for power, for security, for expansion, and the intellect merely runs along behind it, inventing sophisticated metrics and strategic justifications to make the savage drive look respectable. The tragic flaw of the modernist project was its naivete. Because the intellect is merely the servant of the will, the blind, unquenchable drive for institutional greed simply hijacked the pristine machinery of modernism. Capitalist expansion took the hyper-efficient grids, the optimization metrics, and the streamlined bureaucratic processes and transformed them into weapons of maximum extraction. Look at how this manifests in everyday vocabulary and organizational life. We shroud corporate behavior in the language of cold, surgical rationality. We don't say we want to crush a competitor. We call it capturing market share. We don't say we are firing thousands of human beings to increase a profit margin. We call it right-sizing or operational efficiency. This is the intellect acting as the PR department for the unhinged will. The misery of modern work is rooted in the constant cognitive dissonance. On a gut level, employees know they are participating in an irrational power struggle, a blind drive for institutional survival and executive status. Yet they are forced to spend their days writing polite emails, building slide decks, and using professionalized language that pretend this savage dance is entirely logical. The exhaustion of the modern worker is the mental fatigue of maintaining a constant, daily lie. Because the will is an unquenchable, directionless striving, Schopenhauer deduced that existence within this world of time and space is structurally engineered for suffering. He visualizes human life as a tragic pendulum, swinging eternally between two agonizing poles, wanting and boredom. To want something is to suffer from lack, which causes acute dissatisfaction. We tell ourselves that when we finally secure that promotion, close that funding round, or optimize that system, we will achieve an enduring state of rest. This is our personal teleology, the myth of the finish line. But Schopenhauer exposes this trap. The moment the goal is achieved, the satisfaction vanishes almost instantly. It does not transition into peace. It curdles into a horrific, empty boredom, or Langeweile in German. To escape this existential vacuum, the blind will inside us immediately manufactures a new deficiency, a new craving, a new milestone, restarting the painful cycle. Here, the corporate machine collides with the teleological illusion of modernism. Modernism promised that our labor was building a better future, a march toward a grand destination of ultimate societal optimization. But Schopenhauer's philosophy is an absolute anti-teleology. He exposes the fact that in a system driven by the will, there is no destination. The modern organization is structurally incapable of allowing its members to experience satisfaction. Think of the annual cycle. The moment a team hits its yearly targets, those targets are not celebrated as a peak of achievement. They are simply used as the baseline for next year's increased expectations. The reward for good work is simply more work. This creates the profound psychological despair across the workforce known as burnout. Employees learn that the finish line is a mirage. You survive a high-stress production launch, you clear your inbox, you finish the big presentation, and you expect a moment of peace. Instead, you are met with an immediate crushing void, followed instantly by the arrival of the next project. Modernism built a culture obsessed with optimization, but because it is fueled by an insatiable will, it is optimization without an end goal. It is a train running at 200 miles an hour on a track that goes in a permanent circle. But the structural misery of organizational life is not merely defined by what we do. It is driven by how the machine completely distorts our relationship with time itself. Schopenhauer argued that time has a dual nature. In the world of representation, we perceive time as a linear river, split into past, present, and future. But this linear sequence is an illusion. The cosmic will exists completely outside of time, in an eternal, unmoving state. For human beings trapped in the phenomenal world, this creates a profound psychological crisis. Schopenhauer pointed out that the past is merely a dead memory traced in the brain, and the future is an unearned mental projection. Neither possesses any true reality. The only thing that objectively exists is the razor-thin, fleeting slice of the present. Yet, because we are driven by an insatiable will, we are structurally incapable of inhabiting it. The modernist project capitalized on this flaw. It institutionalized the total colonization of the present. To understand how this metaphysical trap became an industrial jail, we must trace how Schopenhauer's temporal split directly anticipated the great sociological and existential crises of the 20th and 21st centuries. At the dawn of mature modernism, the sociologist Georg Simmel observed the initial psychological toll of this shift. In the metropolis, Simmel saw that the hyper-rationalization of the money economy required what he called the pocket watch economy, the absolute synchronization of every individual life into an objective, mathematically calculable schedule. The unique inner life of the individual had to be flattened to fit the temporal grid of the system. This flattening is precisely what the philosopher Henri Bergson rebelled against. Bergson financialized time, arguing that modernism committed a spatial error. It treated time as if it were a string of static, identical units on a timeline, what he called mathematical time. But real human experience is durée, inner duration. True time is a continuous qualitative flow where moments melt into one another, completely unmeasurable by a clock. To summarize, we are dealing with the bifurcation of modern time. Mathematical time is the quantifiable, divisible atomic unit. Time as an existential resource to be bought, sold, and optimized on a spreadsheet. Inner time is the lived experience of qualitative flow, the internal horizon where human meaning actually resides. When the corporate machine enforces mathematical time, it inflicts an existential wound. Martin Heidegger posited that human beings do not merely exist in time, we are time. Our very being, Dasein, is structured by temporality. We live looking forward, defined by our possibilities. But when the modernist machine hijacks this structure, our relationship to our mortality is corrupted. The organization fills our horizon with synthetic corporate possibilities. the next promotion, the quarterly review, the product launch, so that we never have to face the authentic horizon of our own existence. We are kept running so fast that we forget we are running toward a grave. This trajectory reaches its terrifying zenith in our contemporary digital era, a condition the sociologist Hartmut Rosa conceptualizes as social acceleration. Rosa updates Schopenhauer's pendulum for the hyper-connected age. He demonstrates that despite all of our time-saving technologies, high-speed internet, automated workflows, generative AI, we do not feel that we have more time. Instead, we experience a catastrophic time scarcity. Technological acceleration drives the acceleration of social change, which in turn accelerates the literal pace of life. It is a self-propelling, closed loop. Schopenhauer observed that time has a fugitive character. It evaporates the moment we attempt to hold it. Today, digital capitalism has compressed this cycle to a breakneck velocity. You clear your inbox, you finish a stressful presentation, you close a project ticket. You experience a microsecond of relief. The pendulum touches attainment. But the machine cannot allow you to rest in the authentic present of durée. As Rosa notes, the rate of decay on our experiences has reached an all-time high. What was a valid skill or a monumental achievement yesterday is obsolete today. The past achievement is instantly wiped from the system's memory, and the incoming notification bell chimes, throwing you violently back into the anxiety of future-facing wanting. We are suffering from a total temporal alienation from the world, from our work, and from ourselves. The machine forces us to constantly sacrifice our only true possession, the present, to feed an infinite, hyper-accelerated future that consumes itself before it even arrives. The horror of Schopenhauer's metaphysics deepens when we examine how the will interacts with itself. Because the will exists outside of space and time, it is fundamentally one. There are not billions of separate wills, there is only the will. However, when it is filtered through our cognitive software, the space-time grid Schopenhauer called the principle of individuation, the single cosmic force splinters into billions of separate organisms. The result is a metaphysical nightmare. The will is trapped inside a room with itself, forced to fracture and devour itself to survive. To illustrate this, Schopenhauer pointed to the harrowing biological anomaly of the Australian Bulldog ant. If you cut the ant in half, a civil war breaks out between the two parts. The head grips the tail, and the tail defends itself by stinging the head. They will fight in the dust for hours until they both die. Modernism took this fragmented world and attempted to turn it into a synchronized, rational ecosystem of efficiency. But the reality of modern organizational life is the corporate bulldog ant. By forcing humans into hyper-individualized, artificial categories, the system compels a single human collective to tear itself apart, blind to the fact that they are all limbs of the exact same organism, burning out to feed the same unthinking institutional drive. This metaphysical self-devouring is the day-to-day texture of office politics. Because modern corporate structures separate us by competitive compensation models, relative performance reviews, and siloed departmental budgets, they force us to see our colleagues as threats to our own survival. The misery here is structural. The person sitting in the next cubicle or appearing in the teleconference window is, fundamentally, a human being sharing your exact same predicament. Yet the system forces you to participate in a passive-aggressive gladiatorial arena. You find yourself celebrating when a rival department's project fails, or hoarding information to make yourself indispensable, or craftily phrasing an email to shift blame. It is a state of quiet, civilized warfare, where the head is constantly stinging the tail, generating a toxic baseline of anxiety, distrust, and profound isolation. We are not lonely because we are alone, but because we are forced to treat our peers as predators. Did Schopenhauer offer an exit from this mechanical hell? He offered two escape routes. The permanent escape is aestheticism, the deliberate starvation of desire, a total renunciation of ambition, consumption, and corporate striving, heavily influenced by his pioneering integration of Upanishadic and Buddhist philosophy into Western thought. But for those trapped inside the machine, he offered a temporary sanctuary, aesthetic contemplation. Schopenhauer argued that when we encounter true art, music, or pure architectural form, our cognitive software undergoes a profound shift. We cease to view objects through the principle of sufficient reason. We stop asking how we can use them, buy them, or exploit them. For a fleeting moment, our ego dissolves. The demanding voice of the will goes quiet, and the pendulum stops its agonizing swing. This brings us to the profound, aching paradox at the heart of the modernist project. When the architects of the early 20th century, Le Corbusier, Mies van der Rohe, and the masters of the Bauhaus, stripped away the chaotic ornamentation of history to build their clean, geometric, minimalist structures, they claimed they were doing so for functional utility and corporate efficiency. But if we look through Schopenhauer's eyes, we discover a much deeper, unconscious motive. They weren't building engines of production, they were building monasteries. Minimalist design was a desperate rescue mission. By stripping our environments of sensory clutter and consumer noise, they attempted to create spatial sanctuaries that could temporarily paralyze the restless, exhausting will of modern capital. They built spaces of pure aesthetic contemplation to give the human mind a break from the very industrial machine they were designing. We construct our contemporary corporate spaces with pristine logic, clean lines, and hyper-rational design, not because we are rational creatures, but because we are desperate to hide how chaotic, blind, and directionless we truly are. The modernist project attempted to construct a kingdom of pure reason. Instead, its rational tools, bureaucracy, optimization metrics, and streamlined design became the very chains used to trap the modern worker in a state of permanent, hyper-efficient suffering. We don't live in a rational world. We live in a wild jungle that learned how to wear a tailored suit and use a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet remains infinite. The treadmill keeps spinning. But within the minimalist frame, the will is forced for a moment to look upon its own beautiful silence.